Right, FM25 is here. I don't normally make these videos, but because of all the discussion and stuff, I thought I would throw my penner's worth into it. A couple of people in the comments of a couple of YouTube posts and in my Discord and on Twitter have kind of been asking my thoughts. So I thought I would give you my thoughts. And at the same time, if you are going to buy FM25, I've got a discount code down in the description to 2game. Get it a penny cheaper than those guys at Fanatical and obviously cheaper on Steam. Use the code FMTREK, get yourself a discount, and also it supports me as a channel. A couple of years ago when I did this was absolutely massive for like me over Christmas and the family and stuff, so I'd really appreciate if you are going to be buying this version of the game, then check out the link down in the description. Alright, so I'm going to give you my honest thoughts towards everything that's gone on. Now, the first thing is that hit me, and I actually sent a tweet out yesterday, is that thing in the corner, which is the logo. Look, that has no bearing on what the game is going to be, but my life, it looks absolutely dog shit. There's no other way to put it. It's obviously FM that's meant to look like a ball. It's been likened to a shriveled up testicle. I also saw one of me mates on Twitter also likened it to King Charles's fingers. So there you go. It just wasn't necessary. I'm a big fan of the font itself, the Football Manager font that they've kind of tweaked. Just FM in a circle. Maybe incorporating a ball would have been good, but they've gone for that funky little thing, whatever it is. Not a great start. Now, the game has been released as a start date. There's a little bit of a worry as well about the beta. Now, I always think with the beta that it takes away a little bit. They say like the game's coming out, November 26th or whatever, and then when it comes to it, you kind of get the game 2 weeks before, and then when a game is finally released, it never feels like that full proper release. You know, the old days of picking up a game that was ready-made. The games, I played FM and CM and FIFA through the 90s and the early 2000s. You kind of just got on with it and played the game. So I'm not that bothered. My only issue then is that obviously the beta is a really good opportunity to play the game 2 weeks and help SI out, iron out bugs. But if they come with a fully fledged version that didn't need that 2 week period, then so be it. It may be a case that they are planning on doing it, maybe even a week, but they're just not sure with dates and stuff at the moment, so they're just focusing on the November the 26th, if they can get maybe the game out a little bit earlier, maybe a week earlier, even a few days earlier, to allow people to play it, maybe till the full game gets released. Potentially that is an option, what they might do at later stage, but yeah, that is a little bit strange. However, I'm not that bothered. If the FM25 comes on November 26th and it's ready to go, then that's absolutely fine. Now, Football Manager have released this. This is sort of like the roadmap, which is going to go on pre-game and, according to Miles, I think, as the game goes in. So more stuff will be added. And it has a whole host of different things. So next week, they're going to look at introducing women's football. The interface, which has come with some interesting screenshots. We'll have a quick look at tactics, which by looks of a couple of rumours is pretty cool. Match experience, with I'm kind of hoping is going to be obviously the new match engine. Your manager could be absolutely anything. FM25 mobile focus, deeper dives, little bits and bobs as well. So let's start at the top. So that is like the rub. So that's the rub, and that's set out. The first thing that I will have a little moan at is people are saying, well, normally when the game gets released and they offer the pre-order date, because you can pre-order it from today, that normally you don't get to look at the match, the match engine and what's changes. You have a good idea of potentially what's maybe coming, but there's no real confirmed screenshots and stuff, and that is fair enough. So last year, no sort of like footage of the game in the initial advert. Now, the only, I would say, argument to that is that this year we know there's a new match engine. So it's going to look, I'm going to say it's going to look entirely different, only on the basis that it's going to be a new match engine. We know it's not going to look anything spectacular, but there should be a noticeable difference. And when you're asking people to buy the game and saying it's on pre-sale with no knowledge of how that match engine is going to look, then I can kind of understand why people have been a little bit critical of that. I'm going to buy the game regardless, despite me being a content creator and it's a part-time job and everything that it's important to me right now. It's not the end of the world. Also, I've been playing Football Manager CM for 25 plus years easy. So me buying the game, I'd be buying it no matter what. I was in 2D until 2017. I never even bothered the match engine for 3D because I didn't really like it. So I'm quite happy to go back to a 2D. For the stuff that we do, and even on the channel, a lot of stuff I've done at times has been using 2D to give you a special sort of like a better insight into how the tactic works or certain roles and stuff. So the match engine stuff, not the end of the world, I would be buying it regardless. Right, the roadmap. Now, I'm hoping that This is not done in order of importance because there's a couple of massive things. Obviously, tactics, potentially we don't know how big or small that is going to be. Match experience, we're hoping that's going to be massive. First thing they're going to introduce is women's football, and next week, and I'm going to say I've no interest. I will not be playing it. I don't have any interest in women's football. I have no interest in the Latvian league and things like that, and other leagues and other types of playing. But for me, I have no real interest, so that for me is not a big feature. Now, the week after is the interface, which is an interesting one because if you go over to Steam, there's a couple of screenshots. So we all know the AI is changing slightly. It's supposed to be more clearer, more simple, and less sort of like things behind tabs rather than having everything on screen, and a little bit more accessible. Now, the opening screen that they've given us here is what club do you want to manage? And immediately, yes, it looks arguably better. There's no yes or no answer. I think there's maybe less information on it, which is maybe a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. One thing that I'm already been critical of, and once again, it seems to be running pattern, is the amount of blank spaces. I do find the default FM skin has too many blank spaces, and that is not just on this year's, it's also last year's game as well, and the previous sort of like AI versions of, in particular, player profile screens and things like that. But yeah, it looks okay. I've been playing a long time, and I'm a little bit worried that, yes, they're trying to make the game more simple and open it out to more people, but then it gets frustrating for us guys that have been playing the game for, 20 years plus, and then having to kind of go to I don't think it's going to look anything spectacular. Having it all on, making it look like an iPad kind of thing and more accessible is maybe good for the new starters, but it's not necessarily good for everyone. But that screen alone, happy with it. It's obviously great we've got the Premier League licensing into the game as well. Right, next one is the Performance Center. This looks something that is going to be really good and usable. I do think at times they could put more information on a screen, and this screen, as the squad thing, in the Performance Center does look pretty damn cool. It's got everything on that you want. I like to have lots of screens with lots of different relevant information. Obviously, this looks good of a good way of managing your squad and having everything set up. It looks nice. It looks clear. It looks simple. Now, this one is where it starts to annoy me. It looks way too boring. The writing on some of the stuff is too small. I think, I've got a huge screen here, so it's probably not going to be an issue for me. But if I've got a 17-inch, 16.5-inch sort of like laptop, it's maybe a little bit of an issue. And what's frustrating is, as well, we have these, and it always is the huge gap of just dead space. So from crossing to the number 11 on this, look at the space. Just dead space. Dead space. Dead space. I think it becomes more difficult to read the further away it is from sort of like the subject. So we're obviously crossing here, it's miles away. And I just think it's dead space, and it could be all brought in a little bit. And it's good we got these little tabs. It'd be mint like if these tabs can be changeable. Obviously, you get a lot of custom skins that you can do this and tabs are changeable. Like, look at the size of the form. How good would it be if these here could literally all be put on 3 lines or even 2 lines? Height, right foot, weak foot could be all put on 1 line, and then personality and reputation all on 1 line as well. And then that would leave a huge gap here to put the box. And I think that's a pretty easy change to make. Like here as well, couldn't we not have like the goalkeeping things interesting? Does anyone ever look at that? I don't know, probably not. It'd be good if the player traits were in there, and then once again it opens it out to have another tab on there. Anything statistical, it'd be good to have all the stats that you get with completed passes and all stuff, that you could have a box with some more in-depth stats in. That would be pretty cool. They're trying to make it easy to navigate through. So wouldn't it be great if that, as a general overview, obviously we've got the performance screen right there, performance tab, but it would be great if we had more information on that screen instead. If just moved everything across a little bit. And then there's a different way of obviously how the interface is using the star recommendation. So you've got numbers, probably marked, scale out of maybe 1 to 5 by the looks of it. So I'm happy with that. It's just an alternative way of making maybe the stars look a little bit clearer. So that's absolutely fine. And, sorry, if I'm being picky, I would like that bigger. Why can't that information there, in particular the picture, why can't we have a bigger picture of Matoma there? We've got all that space underneath, just dead space, dead space, dead space. Why can't it just be a little bit bigger? That's my thoughts. There may be a reason. I don't think there is a reason. They may say it looks clearer, but, there's no reason why Matoma's sort of like the circle Batoma's facing can't be what, at least twice as big, maybe 3 times as big, and have a nice clear section there. I don't understand why that would be a problem. And for the other two, yeah, there looks like there's a new role, which is channel forward. Some people have mentioned that it's replacing pressing forward, but if you look on screen 5 out of 5 for Evan Ferguson, pressing forward is there. Now, that is the interface. I'm not overly keen on it. I do sometimes like the idea. Sometimes you do look at a couple of screens in FM and it's like, whoa, shit. There's a lot of info in there, a lot of words. So they've obviously done their best of trying to tidy it all up. It just sometimes feels like they're just missing some really obvious things. I'd love to hear your thoughts though down in the comments. Right, so that is the interface kind of covered. As I said, let me know your thoughts down below. The next one's tactics. We're completely unsure of how big or how little this is going to be. Excitedly, I can't remember who it was. Someone posted some information that there's going to be some more things regarding out of possession. And I know in the past, people have always argued and bloggers have always kind of said, your base tactic is out of possession, and then the in possession stuff is the things that you change in the player instructions, team instructions stuff, which I kind of get. But it is limiting sometimes of asking players to do certain things out of possession. So it'd be really cool like if there's another section where, in particular, where they drop into in little areas. You know, a prime example would be the Kevin De Bruyne video that I did, the wide playmaker, with having to make up roles and try and combine a couple of things, kind of trying to get round the lack of movability within the tactic between in and out of possession and stuff. So it's sometimes difficult that way. So I'm hoping there's a few tweaks to that. And as I said, we'll probably do another video on that when they release that info, because obviously tactics is everything that we do here on the channel. It keeps the lights on basically on the channel, the stuff that I really enjoy. So we'll definitely do another dive into that. The match experience is obviously going to be the match engine. I have not got massive expectations, and that's not been negative. Obviously, I don't know, I kind of feel at the moment that they're running out of time, and that's why the game's been delayed. And it would have been good if they'd maybe just given themselves an extra year and let it go into FM26. And for this year, rather than producing a game that might be only 6 out of 10, waiting an extra year, and they could have just done, you know, people have mentioned sort of like DLCs and stuff. It would have been awesome that they could have spent their time worrying about the new match engine for an extra year if it comes to the point where we play the game and it's not great. I've had a little bit of discussion with Tony Jameson this morning on Twitter, because he said it was fine that the game's not going to be okay, and I kind of disagree. You know, if people are putting a game out, you expect it to be at a level, and I'm a bit worried that now it's getting rushed. I could be talking absolute nonsense and it's fine. They maybe just needed a couple of extra weeks to make sure it's absolutely amazing, which could be a possibility. The other possibility is they're running out of time, obviously nowhere near where they want it to be. So that is a worry. I said the DLC thing's interesting. They could have just said, right, for this year, FM25, it's FM24, but we'll release an official patch with everything up to date from the end of the transfer window, like they normally do. And then with a couple of little tweaks, a couple of little things they could have left in the game or added to the game that we know when they do these extra sort of like reveals, when you think, that didn't take a lot of work. That's just a little feature, just a little bit of filler, shall we say, padding added to in the game. They could maybe just do that and offer it a rate of a DLC and call it a DLC for the year, because we're focusing on this game for FM26. That would be an idea. Interesting to know what your thoughts would be. Hopefully, though, when we get the game on November the 26th, it's going to be absolutely banging. Your manager is worrying me a little bit. The pessimistic side of me is that they're just updating that ridiculous manager experience screen. Remember that sort of like roll of honor wall thing that you get at the end of the season that no one pays any attention to, and they tried to pull that in a couple of years ago. Was it last year or the year before, when they tried to put it in as a little bit of filler and everyone was like, what the fuck is this? That's a worry. However, if we can change a couple of things, I hope it's not just basically the clothes that I wear on the side of the pitch. I don't want that. I want that to be, I don't know what I want it to be, but I want it to be something manageable. You know, it'd be great as if, I've always thought that you can take on a team without having it being your first job in management. You know, every job, we play these games for years and years, and we take on the job of being a brand new manager. And a lot of time we're not, you know, especially in FM, you've probably done 4 or 5 saves. So it'd be maybe cool that you could maybe say that you're an experienced manager and you can maybe put your clubs in, or a roll of honor where you've been in the past and stuff like that, just to add to the immersion of the game. I remember talking from a storyline period, sort of like version there, where, you know, creators and bloggers and what etc. like to create a little bit of a storyline. So that would be cool. I always thought a good idea as well for your manager was, depending on your reputation and not so much coaching qualifications. I don't really fuss with them a lot. But in terms of your experience and your reputation of how much of the club you get to control. So if you're starting out and you get a big job, you might have to listen to, like Pochettino had to do at Chelsea. He had to put up with the signings, what the director of football give them. It would be nice if there was a few more sort of like tweaks to make the game more difficult. And as you apply for new jobs, you have then the opportunity to say, no, if you're going to employ me as manager, I want more control. I want control over who we're signing, what staff we're bringing in, etc. And I think that would be a really cool addition to the game. I don't need to ask my chairman for a new stadium because that is absolutely ridiculous. Something that should be taken out of the game. And then the other stuff, FM mobile focused, I'm not going to pay any attention to that. Obviously, deeper dive, which will all be the little bits, which will be always pretty cool. Console recap. I tried to get my lad into it at the moment. It's just not, FM's just not there for the young, you're looking at secondary school age, I think, for lads, boys and girls, to get into. And that is it. The only other thing is the other things that they've left out. Obviously, they're leaving out weight, which is an interesting one. I can understand why they've done it, but just really poorly put together. Obviously, they've put it in at the same time in talking about women, like it's a women's issue. And they should have just taken it out of the game and just said when the game was released, we're not having weighting because it has no bearing on the game, rather than trying to bring some excuse in about, was it changing weights or something like that with the women? I can't remember. I want to get that right. There it is. Through the creation of our women's football database, we discovered that while the weight of the male athletes can change a bit from month to month, women's body types are very different, which obviously we know, from men's, and their weight fluctuates a lot. So it just feels like they've just taken it out because it's more of a women's issue, which is just really bad. They just said, we're taking it out because it has no bearing on what happens with your player in the game. Obviously, you have your fitness stuff, and, if there's people that are a little bit struggling with their fitness, then you leave them out because they're struggling with fitness, not because their weight is a certain weight. So yeah, that was just poor PR more than anything else. The other bit is the international stuff. Now, I understand why they've done it, and if they're wanting to get the match engine right and other things, only 5.6 of all PC saves have used this mode, which I totally get. From a selfish point of view, it ruined my main save that I was doing for FM25. My main save, we were heading to Bulgaria, and it was going to be like a rebuild of Bulgaria where we were going to take on a created academy club, similar to what they've done in Romania with Georgi Hagi's academy side that have done great things, gone into Europe and stuff. We were only going to sign Bulgarians. We were also going to then take over as managers, so running side by side. We were then going to take on the management job of Bulgaria. And with me producing a good Bulgarian academy in my club side, we would then hopefully be able to transform the fortunes of the Bulgarian national side over the last sort of like 20 years or even 30 years from 1994. Everything has dipped. They're really low down in the rankings. And I thought that was going to be a really good save. And we would just follow the progress as me as manager as Bulgaria. Maybe as a separate video in between the main section, which was obviously trying to get my Bulgarian side from the second division into the top division, into Europe, etc., all using Bulgarian players. And then in turn, that would have a really positive spin on the Bulgarian national team. Now, I could have done that for FM25 because the international management is there in terms of it's in the atmosphere in the game, but we're just not allowed to take over the management. But I just felt like I wanted to manage the team to make sure we had a certain style of player, certain players were maybe put in, I maybe pushed forward players into the under 21s a bit quicker, etc. And I wanted to be in control of that to have a full game experience of the save. Now, that is really frustrating that they decided to take it out, but I do understand it. People sort of like commenting as well on Twitter saying, oh, people who are unhappy about it being taken out, you need to get a life and stuff. And it's, if you like international management, then you're allowed to be pissed off. I was pissed off, but I was only pissed off because I was doing international management of part of FM26 and a part of FM25. If this was a year before, when I was doing my manager save, it wouldn't have bothered me one bit because I've said, as we've all kind of said, no one really uses it and the numbers are there to prove it. All right, that is my little thoughts on everything. Interesting to know your comments. There'll be people that are saying they're going to skip it, and I totally get that. And I imagine the games might not blow us away, but I always say £35 for the amount of hours you put in will no doubt be worth it. It's always nice to have a few little updated bits. You might even have to just go back in the match engine. I'm hoping 2D will still be in it. And if it's that bad, you just play on 2D and you still get to do your signing of your players and everything's updated. There'll be new leagues coming in as well, which will be pretty cool. Obviously, we're running out of leagues. I am hoping that Bosnia is going to be one of them, based on my save for the FM25, but it doesn't look like that at the moment. So there'll be new nations, new leagues. Obviously, the packs are kind of pretty cool. Obviously, the Premier League licensing's all right, but most of us get the face packs and local packs, and we'll have to do that for the other divisions anyway. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. I probably won't do a video like this all the time, unless something really annoys me or something I read on Twitter annoys me, or we'll definitely do the tactics one, cover changing the tactics, because I think that'll be really cool, and obviously that will have a major impact on how we do content because that'll have a major impact on what we do for content in FM25. All right, I will do a save reveal very, very soon. I've picked my save. Obviously, the Bulgarian one hit me quite hard. That's what she said, because I'd been choosing it for a number. I've had it since Christmas. And I've struggled with FM for the last 3 or 4 months of wanting to pick it up, and this was driving me. And watching and researching the Bulgarian league, national team, the storyline, how I was going to make the academy work, everything threw me back a little bit. But I've managed, since being on holiday, read a book, and it's absolutely sucked me in. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Check out the link. If you're going to buy FM25, you're going to buy it. Check out the link down in the description. And watch out, loads of content. I'm also doing some real football content over the next month. Football chat each week. There'll be a video out sometime this week about Eric Ten Hag. So hopefully you'll follow that. Cheers, guys. Take care. See you later.